From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon and welcome to your MTN Noon News this Tuesday. I'm Charlie Klepps. Let's get right to our top story. Continuing coverage out of Flathead County today following yesterday's top story here on your Noon News. 2 young kids are among the victims of a Sunday shooting in Kalispell that left 4 people dead. It's an incident police are calling a senseless tragedy. MTN's Derek Joseph has the latest on this investigation.
New information has been released about a shooting that left 4 people dead in this Kalispell home. According to Kalispell PD, they believe Nicholas Olson Hartley shot and killed his wife Katie and their 2 children before shooting himself in an apparent murder-suicide.
Around 6 a.m. Sunday, Kalispell PD responded to a mental health concern for Nicholas Olson Hartley in the Silverbrooks Estate neighborhood after Nicholas had made multiple concerning statements to dispatch. When first responders arrived at the home, they found Nicholas and his wife Katie, a 6-year-old and 7-month-old child, dead in their Kalispell home from gunshot wounds. After investigating the home and interviewing multiple people, officers on the scene believe this incident to be a murder-suicide. Kalispell Police Chief Jordan Venezio says the police department mourns with the family that is suffering from this incident and is making all resources available for their officers to ensure they can process and move forward.
We will keep you updated with any new information regarding this incident. Reporting in Kalispell, I'm Derek Joseph, MTN News.
This morning, we have new details surrounding a Billings homicide investigation. It started with a house fire and ended with the discovery of the body of a disabled man who lived there. It's a story we brought you yesterday on Montana This Morning. The fire started on Jim Street on Saturday morning. Sheriff Mike Linder says detectives found the body and quickly pointed to foul play. Blue Creek Fire quickly extinguished the flames and preserved the crime scene. A suspect, 32-year-old Justin Hosey, was arrested at the Love's truck stop in Hardin and now faces several charges, including arson and deliberate homicide. Those who live in the Meadowlark Trailer Park tell MTN that their community has been rocked by the fire and the death of a neighbor. Yesterday, we visited the community to learn more about the details and hearing from residents firsthand.
The flames were way high in the tree.
The reactions say it all.
Like his house was burning up really bad.
As residents in the Meadowlark Trailer Park reflect on a fire that destroyed this home Saturday morning, killing a man inside who neighbors say is disabled.
I lost my balance and stuff. It was horrifying. It made me sick.
Longtime resident Jean Schaff says it was shocking waking up to flames so close to her home.
The flames were touching the edges of that tree.
Another resident, Eric Snodgrass, asked not to be on camera, but shared the same concerns.
If it catches that tree, that it's just like the whole neighborhood could go down.
Both agreed the death, which Yellowstone County Sheriff Mike Linder described as suspicious, is frightening.
That trailer was smoking, and it was a very devastating feeling. You're here so long time. You get to know everybody.
Linder says his officers arrested 32-year-old Justin Hosey, facing charges of homicide, theft, arson, and tampering with evidence.
I've lived here all this time, and we've never had real violence of any sort.
At this time, law enforcement haven't said who the victim is, but his longtime neighbors say he was an amputee living in this community for years.
I've never had to deal with anything like this, living right amongst us. I mean, that part is scary.
Light rain around the Missoula area as we take a live shot as things are continuing to look cloudy, showers around, but you can notice that right now we're picking up more shower activity in west central, northwest Montana, north central Montana, but our focus is going to be a lot on these areas through southern Montana into northern Wyoming. Winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings into effect. The bulk of it for southwest Montana through this afternoon and this evening. Then we're going to move over the higher elevations of south central Montana, and that will linger into tomorrow evening, even Thursday, into areas of southeastern Montana. Forecast details coming up.
Now time for today's leading look as we take a look at some of the other stories making headlines across Montana. The Montana Department of Corrections is working to alleviate overcrowding issues. On Monday, the DOC announced it moved 50 inmates from the Montana Women's Prison in Billings to the former Riverside Special Needs Unit in Boulder. The Montana Women's Prison population stands at 241 with 62 awaiting prison placement in county jails. The Riverside facility south of Boulder was recently used to house male inmates with serious long-term medical needs. 25 inmates housed there were moved to the state prison earlier this month. A Montana judge has agreed to temporarily place Anderson Towing back on the City of Billings Police Department's rotation just after a string of complaints accusing the company of overcharging for tows. We first reported back in March about a Bozeman hardware company filing a complaint against Anderson for being overcharged thousands of dollars after a crash. The city suspended Anderson from their rotation after a state's tow truck resolution compliant committee removed them from the highway patrol rotation. Anderson's attorneys argued that the city violated the company's due process rights, and Judge Donald Malloy agreed. The judge granted a preliminary injunction to place Anderson back on the list pending final resolution of the case. Anderson's compliance manager, Rob Lem, says, "We're glad to be back in the rotation. If we would have had our chance to discuss with the city, it would have cleared things up and wouldn't have gone this way." After nearly 100 horses were seized from a Montana breeding operation earlier this year, the ASPCA is raising awareness about what it takes to give animals a second chance. MTN's Megan Elaine tells us what you should know before adopting a horse.
I bet you didn't know that May was Adopt a Horse Month, and although this sweet girl right here isn't up for adoption, she's a good example of what it means to take care of a horse, which is what the ASPCA is currently highlighting with their Adopt a Horse campaign. Good girl.
It's been so gratifying to see these horses in their new homes.
Back in January, nearly 100 Morgan horses were seized from a breeding operation in Madison County. Many were underweight, injured, or suffering from neglect. Since then, the ASPCA, or American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, along with local partners, have been working to rehab and rehome them. And now 62 have already found new homes.
Everything from, a young 2 or 3-year-old horse who has her whole life ahead of her to these senior mares that just needed somewhere soft to land towards the end of their life. And just the love and attention that they're getting has been really gratifying to see.
ASPCA Vice President of Equine Welfare, Christy Schultz-Kappert, says while many have been adopted, some of the other horses are still needing extra care.
They're horses and they're big animals. They need those specific needs. They need to be seen by a farrier and by a veterinarian. And a lot of them did have similar issues because of those needs not getting addressed for a while.
And that's why the ASPCA is using May to raise awareness.
Whether you have a horse or may want a horse in the future or just like horses, to focus on equine adoption and how powerful it is as a way to get good horses in need into good homes.
Christy says for those with little to no horse experience but an interest in adoption, the best first step is getting involved with either volunteering at a local shelter or even signing up for lessons at a nearby barn.
Learn, what it takes day to day to take care of a horse. They'll meet lots of other horse people and then can sort of make their way into finding a veterinarian and a farrier and these other professionals.
For more information on horse adoption and animal cruelty resources, visit our website. In Bozeman, Megan Elaine, MTN News.
The Great Falls International Airport announced Delta Airlines dropped its service to Minneapolis from Great Falls. This is due to Delta as well as other airlines facing economic shortfalls and slower bookings. After the peak season this summer, Delta will focus on consolidating its connections through the Salt Lake City hub. The Great Falls Airport director said there will still be the same number of Delta seats available, though the routes will be different.
All the airlines really, as I started looking around at articles, are projecting a pretty weak demand this fall. They're all seeing some economic downturn indicators, and so advanced bookings are way off. And so there's hundreds of routes being cut, hundreds of flights this fall amongst all the airlines, and this is one of the ones they're cutting.
According to Faulkner, if things seem to be improving next year, we could see Minneapolis back on the booking screen next summer. Last week, Governor Greg Gianforte signed into law the STARS Act, which makes additional state funding available to Montana school districts. Now, districts need to certify that they can meet the requirements in order to qualify for the funds. MTN senior political reporter Jonathan Ambarian looks at what they're required to do.
This week, the Montana Office of Public Instruction is asking school districts across the state to certify that their starting teacher pay is going to meet a minimum threshold so that they can qualify to receive a share of millions of dollars in additional state funding approved by the Montana legislature earlier this year. State Superintendent Susie Hedlund says so far, almost half of the districts in the state have already applied.
As soon as STARS was ready to roll out, we notified our partners in education so that they could see what we were informing districts of, and we've all been communicating to make sure we're sending the same message to the field and not creating any confusion.
The STARS Act, House Bill 252, was one of the biggest school funding bills at the legislature this year. It expands a state incentive to encourage districts to boost pay for beginning teachers. In order to qualify for the incentive, districts will have to provide a base teacher salary of at least $41,000 in 2026, increasing in future years. It also requires new teachers to make at least 62% of the district's average teacher salary.
Most of the districts we've spoken to are working hard to make sure that they can meet the requirement. There have been a few that had greater challenges, whether it was the 62% or just getting up to that base pay and getting everyone to agree to these terms.
To officially apply for the funding, districts have to certify they'll meet the salary requirements. Some districts are already offering pay that fits the rules. Others have had to work with their school boards and teachers' unions to come to an agreement.
I know for our rural schools across Montana, this is likely to be a large increase in teacher pay, and that's why we were very supportive and thankful to the governor and the legislators for investing in public education and our teachers.
OPI needs to receive districts' applications for the teacher incentive funding by the end of the day, Thursday. On their website, you can find more information on the steps that districts will need to follow. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.